Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 7 and our topic today is ethnicity and social networks. But before we start our presentation, let me introduce our members. Me, myself, Hanifah Umul Khairah, and the other two friends are Aziza Faridah and Indri Elsa Adrianti. I'm the first speaker. Aziza Faridah is the second speaker, and Indri Elsa Adrianti is the third speaker. So today our material divided into two, ethnicity and social networks. In ethnicity, we will discuss African American Vernacular English, British Black English, and Maori New Zealanders. In social networks, we will discuss communities of practice and the construction of social identity. First of all, ethnicity. What is ethnicity and what is ethnic group? Ethnicity is considered to be shared characteristics such as culture, language, religion, and traditions, which is contribute to a person or a group's identity. So in short, ethnicity is the group's or person's identity that makes them different from the others. While an ethnic group has been defined as a group that regards itself or is regarded by others as a distinct community by virtue or certain characteristic that will help to distinguish the group from the surrounding community. Many ethnic groups use a distinctive language to identify their ethnicity. If they are in a dominant language or main language use, the speakers in ethnic group will give you a linguistic signals to identify their ethnic background. Let's jump to the example. New Zealanders use Maori linguistic signals like kia ora, eki, and ne to express their ethnic identity. Kia ora is a greeting in Maori, so they keep use it to show their identity. For example, Kia ora Jun, where have you been? Not seen you around for a while. So here, the speaker used Kia ora to greet someone, but the rest of the conversation will be in English as usual. The next example, Chinese Singaporeans in Singapore use tag la to express their ethnicity. For example, my brother really hungry la. So here, there is no verb, but they use tag la in the conversation. Next, the last example is Italians. Italians in Boston and Sydney use a particular high percentage of vernacular pronunciations of certain vowels. In English, we know that is got vowels when we pronounce O in notes, O in moments. We use diphthong or two vowels in one sound, but Italians didn't know diphthong. They just use monophthong, which is one vowel in one sound. So if Italian pronounce notes and moments, they will sound like this: moment, notes. So they just use O directly in a monophthong vowel. Now we jump to the examples in Indonesia. Chinese Indonesian in Surabaya dominantly use Indonesian, Javanese, and slightly Chinese in daily conversation. For example, words related to the kinship system, they still use taci, koko, cece in their conversation. Koko means older brother, taci means like female that older than him, older than the speakers, like auntie. And the last one, cece. Cece is for represent the older sister. The example of the utterance is ikut sama koko sana. So they use Indonesia, but for the kinship system, they still use their own, like koko. The second one use the use of pigi for pergi. So in utterance, they say pigi sana for pergi sana. The next example of Chinese Indonesians in Surabaya is R sounds become all sound, like murah become mulah. And the last one, t sound become keh sound, like lihat become lihat. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, now we will come to the African American Vernacular English. I will use abbreviation for this with AAVE. Actually, African Americans do not need a distinct variety or code as a symbolic way of differentiating themselves from the majority group because they are visibly different. So, we can totally see the difference of African American with the standard English in the United States. African AAVE has some features which do not occur in standard American English and some which less frequently occur. And also, the linguistic differences act as symbol of the ethnicity. And the AAVE is heard especially in the northern cities of the USA. There are linguistic features that represent cultural distinctiveness of AAVE. The first is absence of copula B. The verb be here is reduced from the sentence when they are in speech. For example, she very nice. So AAVE always or commonly reduce the verb be when they are speech rather than use the be when they are speech. And the second is use copula of be to signal recurring or repeated action. For example, she be at school on weekdays. So be here is explain that the repeated action. While for the US Standard English, they usually use the sentence in speech like she is always at school on weekdays. And the third is multiple negation. Actually, multiple negations is the more general term of referring to the occurrence of more than one negative in a clause. Double negatives intensify the negation. For example, I don't have no money. The next is consonant cluster simplification. All English speakers simplify the consonant cluster in some contexts, but AAVE speakers also use the simplify the consonant cluster at the end of their words. But they do so much more frequently and extensively than the speakers of standard and regional dialects of English. For example, ask in place of asks and last in place of last. The next is British Black English. The members of British Black community that is born in England speak a variety of Jamaican Creole that is also known as patois. The patois used as a symbol of ethnic identity. Those who are not fluent in patois use English with patois features. This way, their English is marked as black, which signal their identity of the speaker. There are linguistic features for the patois. The first is the vocabulary. The are lexical items such as lick meaning cake, kenge meaning wig. And the second is pronunciation. There are many features of pronunciation including stress and intonation patterns, which differ from those of standard English. For example, than and thin, than for than, and thin for thin, and also name for name. And the next is morphology syntax. The plural forms without s suffix. For example, many co. So they delete the s suffix in the plural forms. And the next is the verb tenses are not marked by suffixes on verbs. So forms like walk and jump are used rather than walk and jump. And also the simplified pronouns me for I, me, and my, and them for they, them, and their.
Next is Maori English. Maori English has their own characteristic from the linguistic features, from the pronunciation. They use the sound, then pronouns as then, and the pronouns as the. And from the vocabulary, kiara ora for greetings, tengi meaning funeral, kuia meaning old woman. And from the grammar, vernacular present tense form with as I says you wanna bet. And vernacular past tense, she's seen it happen. Next, about social network. People's speech reflect the type of networks they belong to. And in the field of sociolinguistics, social network describes the structure of a particular speech community. Social networks are composed of a web of ties between individuals, and the structure of a network will vary depending on the types of connection. It is composed of social network theory, posits that social network and the interaction between members within the networks are a driving force behind language change. The features of social networks, there are density and complexity. Density refers to whether members of person's network are in touch with each other. And complexity refers to the type of transactions people involved in uniplex relationship and multiplex relationship. Uniplex relationship is when the link to someone else is only the one area, and multiplex relationship in interactions with others in several dimensions. Communities of practice and construction of social identity. Communities of practice develop around the activities which group members engage in together and their shared objectives and attitudes. Linguistic patterns described by sociolinguistics correlate to macro level categories such as gender, age, ethnicity, and class. The concept of community of practice is aimed at understanding the complexities of belonging to certain group. Okay, that's all for the material. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.